Some of you are thinking you won't fight. Some that you can't fight. They all say that until they're out there. Ultimately, we're all dead men. Sadly, we cannot choose how, but we can decide how we meet that end in order that we are remembered as men.
Gli anziani, uno dei vecchi del calcio storico fiorentino.
Really wish I hadn't focused so heavily on the romanche.
Lesson 1. Lashao Unch.
Hello, in this video we will review the ancient Roman sport of Harpastum. The highlight video in the beginning was the modern sport of Calcio Florentino or Calcio Storico, which was created in the Italian city-state of Florence in the 16th century. Now, that game was a reinterpretation of the ancient Roman sport of Harpastum, and now all of those have changed over time, all of those sports, but their core elements have remained the same. Now, in the modern sport of Calcio Florentino, there are goalkeepers, fullbacks, and forwards that actively play, and the team captains and some other positions don't actually engage the players. They're just sort of moving around the field and directing their own players. The ball can be played or passed in any direction, and the players can engage each other anywhere on the field and can engage any other player. So that means like the fullbacks can engage forwards and vice versa and all that. This is a short replay of a score in Calcio Florentino. The man holding the ball here without the shirt, he's actually going to attempt to score for the green team, his team, but he misses, and when you miss in this game, the other team gets a half point. Now, the player to watch here is this one right here, and he's going to end up going to the left, and I think he would have been open, and they would have actually got a point. You'll see what I mean here. These players here in the blue, those are the team captain and active type players. And you see he runs up. See how he goes to the left there, that guy in the front, and then he breaks. So he split the defenders, kind of made them hesitate on their draw. Let's see if I can. So right there, you see how he kind of, the one in the red, he didn't know what to do. He caused some confusion there, and he was able to throw. But that throw is inaccurate. Gave the red team, you see the guy in the bottom there with his hands up, gave the red team a half a point. Probably should have offloaded to the left. Here's an X's and O's version of the previous video on that score with the lead man. That circle right here was that front guy who went left, and we'll see, like as I put the offload in second level, it's where the ball should have went. I can only play this one time through without it skipping to the next slide for some reason now. Some sort of bug or whatever. I don't know what's going on with my PowerPoint anymore, so we'll just play this. And that's it. So you see how the guy on the left, if we replayed the video at a different shot, he was actually wide open. Now, the information regarding the ancient game of Harpastum is rather piecemeal together. It was sort of collected over time with some gaps of a few hundred years in between the collection, and also there's no long definitive text on the rules that is yet to be found or translated. But the game was associated, or has been associated, with an ancient Greek game called Episkiros, or Phonida, It's P-H-A-I-N-I-N-D-A, and its root meaning is to deceive. Which means basically the players, as was shown in the Calcio Storico highlight, the player was hiding the ball behind his back, so that's kind of the deceptive part of the game. The other part, too, is that Harpastum is a Roman word, but it does have a Greek root word, which is to snatch. So that implies the game was sort of played with your hand. So it wasn't a game with kicking, it was more of a throwing game. Some writings suggest that there were different forms of Harpastum, and one of the forms was like a game of keep away, where players would form or would line up in two parallel lines and face each other with space in between. And a group of players would kind of be in the center, and they would be throwing the ball over the tops the two lines would be throwing the ball over the top of where the center players are at, and those center players are sort of like vying for a position to try to intercept the ball and then to throw it over the heads of their oppositional line to get the ball, to score in the goal behind them. This is like a hypothetical schematic of what could have taken place in terms of the style or flow of play in Harpastum. This just takes an account for a basic version where there's 3 different positions, the Hastati, the Principe, and the Triarii, to keep in line with the Roman legion. The 2 lines are going to form here, and then they're going to try to get the ball through over to the blue goal here. And so as they come up, there should be a small push and a limited penetration. So that limited penetration is going to look like we're kind of coming through, trying to create a gap up here. Now, as the opposition goes to reinforce the breach, another will form on the bottom. And these 2 Astati are going to close out the ends. And so now we have this gap to be flooded in. We got to flood the breach in there and attack through, get the ball going to the Triarii so they can make a long pass to the goal. Now in this example, the reason why I say this could have been something used on the battlefield is because once we establish this gap and we have a limited breach, we're kind of like throwing a javelin into the possible enemy command and control grouping, right? Where the enemy's commander, king, leader, whoever would be very close to their own men. This is just a rules for a game that I came up with based on Harpastum and the Calcico Florentino. You can pause the video and read through them. Not too much in detail. I just try to keep it general. The one thing that I did like to include from a modern sport is the specky skill from Aussie Rules Football, and I'll show that in a video right after this slide. And this is just a simple schematic of the previous rules in the game that I've just described. So you have the dragons on the outside, and they have to stay out there, and they're sort of throwing the ball around. You have the wolves that can kind of transition between the 2 zones, and then the lions are sort of stuck in this middle box and kind of defending the inner ring. Now what we're going to see is the ball. We're going to try to feint, again, a feint attack around the circle. We'll feint here, and then we're going to try to attack through here, and we're going to have this dragon down here move and change its position to kind of run cleanup. And as it goes, ball distributed, and of course, it's PowerPoint, so it's a little off, but you get the point. This red wolf down here gets the ball, and he needs to run through and place the ball, kind of like a touchdown in American football. This concludes our video on the ancient sport of Harpastum. I wish there was more information and I could have provided more information and made the video a little bit more longer, or more entertaining or interesting, and maybe that the schematics could have worked, but nevertheless, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I enjoyed making it, and I thank you.